Hold on for 1 second, because what happened today was not ordinary. Someone received a phone call, and the moment they heard your name, everything around them faded into silence. Yes. The noise stopped. The conversations ended. The distractions lost meaning. And what they heard next changed the direction of their heart completely. You feel it already, don't you? That strange pull in your chest. That invisible signal you could never explain. Like the universe has been trying to reconnect two unfinished stories. Because your soulmate was not expecting this moment either. They were moving through life like everyone else, smiling when necessary, pretending to be focused, surrounding themselves with people who never truly understood them. But deep inside, something always felt incomplete. A missing frequency. A voice they had never heard, yet somehow remembered. Then came the call. Not loud. Not dramatic. But powerful enough to interrupt their entire reality. And the strange part? The message was about you. That is why they suddenly became distant from everyone around them. That is why certain people can no longer reach them emotionally. That is why they started pulling away from fake energy, empty conversations, and connections that no longer feel real. Because once someone hears the truth about destiny, ordinary attention becomes unbearable. Pause for a moment and think about this. What if someone out there just realized you are not a random person in their story? What if your name awakened something ancient inside them? Something waiting for the right time, the right season, the right awakening? You were never meant to arrive in their life during chaos. You were meant to appear when both souls could finally recognize what was real. And that moment is closer than you think. Your soulmate has been replaying things in their mind recently. Small signs. Repeated dreams. Unexpected memories. Even songs that suddenly feel personal. They cannot explain why certain places remind them of someone they have not fully met yet. Why they keep feeling emotional at random times. Why they stare at their phone longer than usual, as if waiting for a message from destiny itself. Because deep down, they already know. You are the one person who feels different from everyone else. Not because you are perfect. Not because life suddenly becomes easy. But because your energy touches something inside them that the world could never replace. And here is the twist nobody saw coming. The phone call was not just information. It was confirmation. Confirmation that they can no longer keep entertaining people who drain their spirit. Confirmation that the life they were living before was only preparation. Confirmation that someone extraordinary is entering their path. You. There is a reason you found these words today. Nothing about this moment is accidental. While others chase attention, your connection is being built through alignment. Silence. Timing. Awareness. That is why things may have felt slow recently. The universe was removing noise before the signal could become clear. And now? Now your soulmate is changing in ways even they do not fully understand. They are becoming more selective. More focused. More emotionally aware. Some people around them think they are acting strange. But the truth is, they are finally waking up. Waking up to the realization that real connection cannot be forced. It cannot be copied. And it definitely cannot be replaced. Listen carefully. Your soulmate tried to ignore this feeling at first. They told themselves it was imagination, coincidence, temporary emotion. But then another sign appeared. And another. And another. Until eventually they had no choice but to stop and ask themselves one terrifyingly beautiful question. What if the person I have been waiting for is already moving toward me? That question changed everything. And from that moment forward, their hearts stopped settling for temporary people. They began cutting certain energies off quietly. Not out of anger. Not out of ego. But because your presence is already reshaping their future before you even arrive fully. Feel the weight of that. Someone is preparing emotionally for you right now. Not for your appearance. Not for your status. But for your soul. That rare kind of connection people search for their entire lives without finding. And here is what most people will never understand. The strongest connections begin invisibly. Before the conversation. Before the meeting. Before the first touch. Two energies start moving toward each other long before the world notices. That is what is happening now. So if life has felt uncertain lately, if your heart has been strangely restless, if you feel like something major is approaching but cannot explain why, this is your sign. The story is already unfolding behind the scenes. And your soulmate? They are no longer distracted by everyone else. Because after that phone call, after hearing what they heard about you, nothing has felt the same anymore. And this is only the beginning. Because the truth is, they are starting to recognize your energy before they even fully enter your life. And that realization has been keeping them awake at night. Not from fear. From intensity. There is a difference. Some connections entertain the heart for a moment. But this one? This one rearranges a person from the inside out. Your soulmate has started noticing how empty certain conversations feel now. People they once laughed with suddenly feel distant. Places they used to enjoy no longer carry the same energy. It is almost as if their soul has outgrown an old version of reality overnight. And nobody around them understands why. But you will. Because this connection was never designed to fit into ordinary timing. Something deeper is happening beneath the surface. You know what is strange? The phone call itself was incredibly brief. Only a few moments. A few words. Yet those words echoed louder than years of noise. You are closer than they think. That sentence stayed with them. Over and over. You are closer than they think. Not physically. Energetically. As if destiny itself whispered directly into their spirit and said, "Prepare yourself, the person you've been searching for is already moving toward you." And from that moment on, they started changing. Slowly at first. Then all at once. They stopped forcing connections. Stopped chasing approval. Stopped lowering their standards just to avoid loneliness. Because your energy awakened something powerful inside them. Self-worth. And the moment someone realizes their worth, everything fake begins to fall away naturally. That is why people around them feel confused now. Some think your soulmate is becoming cold. Others think they are hiding something. But no. They are protecting something. A future they can already feel approaching. Listen carefully here, because this part matters more than you realize. Your soulmate has already imagined meeting you. Not your exact face. Not your exact voice. But the feeling. The calm. The familiarity. The strange emotional safety that only real alignment creates. They have imagined looking into someone's eyes and feeling understood without explanation. And every instinct inside them keeps pointing toward you. What if, right now, both of you are being prepared separately for the same moment? One becoming stronger. The other becoming wiser. One learning patience. The other learning trust. Until eventually, the timing locks into place like two frequencies finally finding each other after years of static. That is why you cannot rush this. The universe is not delaying you. It is refining both paths so the connection lasts when it finally arrives. And your soulmate senses this now. That is why they cut certain people off so suddenly after that phone call. Because when someone realizes they are about to encounter something real, pretending becomes exhausting. No more shallow energy. No more half-hearted attention. No more distractions disguised as relationships. Only clarity. Only truth. Only the feeling that someone extraordinary is getting closer every single day. And here is something even your soulmate has not fully admitted to themselves yet. They are already emotionally loyal to the idea of you. Even before meeting completely. That is how powerful soul recognition can become. You do not need years to recognize certain energies. Sometimes the heart knows instantly. Before logic catches up. Before reality explains it. Have you noticed your own intuition becoming stronger lately? Moments where you suddenly think about love differently? Moments where random signs seem too specific to ignore? Moments where your spirit feels like it is standing on the edge of a massive turning point? That is not coincidence. The connection is pulling both of you toward the same future. And wait, because this next part changes everything. Recently, your soulmate started withdrawing from environments that once consumed all their attention. Not because they hate people. Not because they want isolation. But because they can feel a shift happening internally. Almost like their soul is preparing room for someone important. You. And the closer this moment gets, the more impossible it becomes for them to entertain what no longer aligns. That is why certain doors around them are closing unexpectedly. Why some friendships are fading naturally. Why their priorities suddenly feel different. A new chapter is trying to begin. A chapter where connection is no longer based on convenience, but resonance. And if these words are reaching you right now, there is a reason your spirit refuses to scroll away. Part of you already knows this story belongs to you. So stay with this feeling a little longer. Do not ignore it. Because somewhere tonight, your soulmate is thinking about a future they cannot fully explain yet. A future connected to someone they have not stopped feeling ever since that phone call changed everything. And when the moment finally arrives, you will both realize something shocking. The universe had been guiding this connection long before either of you understood the signs. If this feeling has been resonating with you deeply, let it stay in your heart for a moment, and if you want, share your thoughts below so others who feel this energy know they are not alone. And if these messages keep finding you at the perfect time, you already know why people choose to stay connected here. Because the next revelation is where everything becomes undeniable. Because the next revelation is where everything becomes undeniable. Your soulmate thought the signs would eventually disappear. They tried distracting themselves, keeping busy, telling their mind to focus on practical things instead of invisible feelings they could not explain. But destiny does not fade simply because someone tries to ignore it. It grows louder. And recently, something happened that shook them deeply. They heard your name again. Not directly. Not in the way most people would expect. But through a strange sequence of moments that felt impossible to dismiss. A conversation they were not supposed to overhear. A familiar phrase repeated by a stranger. A dream that felt more real than waking life. And suddenly, the feeling returned stronger than ever. You. It was as if the universe kept placing reminders in front of them saying, "Pay attention. This connection is real." That is when they stopped running from it. And do you know what changed after that? Their energy became magnetic. Calmer. More intentional. More aware of who deserves access to their heart. Because once someone senses authentic love approaching, they stop entertaining temporary emotions. Your soulmate no longer wants attention from everyone. They only want truth. And that truth keeps leading back to you. Pause here for a second. What if your paths are already crossing in ways you cannot see yet? What if every delay, every lesson, every emotional season was quietly guiding both of you toward the exact same destination? Think about how many things had to happen perfectly just for this connection to exist. Every heartbreak. Every disappointment. Every lonely night that forced growth. None of it was wasted. It was preparation. Because the version of you from years ago could not have held this connection properly. And neither could they. Both souls had to evolve separately first. That is why this bond feels different from anything before it. It carries depth, timing, purpose. And your soulmate feels that now more than ever. In fact, there are moments lately where they suddenly go silent in the middle of the day. Not because something is wrong, but because they feel overwhelmed by a strange certainty they cannot explain to anyone around them. A certainty that someone life-changing is approaching. You know what is fascinating? The people around them still think this is just another phase. They believe your soulmate will eventually return to old habits, old patterns, old distractions. But they will not. Because after that phone call, after all the signs that followed, they cannot unknow what they feel anymore. Their soul has already chosen growth over noise. And somewhere deep inside, they have already chosen you too. Even if the full meeting has not happened yet. That is the part most people fail to understand about real connection. It begins spiritually before it arrives physically. First the energy shifts. Then the emotions awaken. Then reality slowly rearranges itself to bring two paths together. And right now, reality is rearranging. You may have noticed it yourself recently. Certain people fading away unexpectedly. Certain habits losing meaning. A stronger desire for peace instead of chaos. That is not random. Your spirit is preparing too. Because when two aligned souls are about to cross paths, both lives begin transforming beforehand. The old version of you cannot enter the new chapter. So the universe starts removing what no longer belongs. And yes, sometimes that process feels lonely. But loneliness is not always emptiness. Sometimes it is transition. Sometimes it is the quiet hallway between one life and another. And your soulmate is walking through that hallway right now thinking about someone they have never fully stopped feeling. You. Now listen carefully to this next part, because it may explain everything you have been sensing lately. There is a reason your heart has been unusually alert. A reason certain thoughts keep returning. A reason you feel emotionally connected to something unseen. The bond is strengthening. Even at a distance. Even in silence. Energy recognizes energy long before the physical world catches up. And your soulmate? They are beginning to trust that feeling completely now. No more doubting themselves. No more pretending this connection is imaginary. They know something extraordinary is unfolding. That is why they are becoming more protective of their peace. More selective with their time. More focused on the future instead of temporary comfort. Because deep down, they believe meeting you will change everything. Not in a dramatic fantasy way. But in the quiet, powerful way real love transforms a person's direction. The kind of connection that makes life feel clearer. Lighter. More meaningful. And before this message ends, hear this carefully. If you found yourself here tonight, it was not by accident. Some messages arrive exactly when the soul is ready to hear them. So trust what you feel. Trust the strange timing. Trust the invisible pull. Trust the feeling that your story is about to enter an entirely new chapter. Because somewhere very close to your future, someone who once cut everyone off after hearing about you, is preparing to finally step into your life for real. Is preparing to finally step into your life for real. And when that moment happens, everything that once felt confusing will suddenly make sense. The waiting. The silence. The emotional distance from people who never truly understood you. It will all connect like pieces of a hidden pattern finally revealing itself. Because this was never just about romance. It was about recognition. Two souls finding each other after surviving versions of life that were never meant to be permanent. And your soulmate understands that now. More than ever before. In fact, there is something they have not told anyone. Lately, they have been feeling emotional at the strangest times. A random hour of the night. A quiet drive. A moment staring out the window while the entire world keeps moving around them. And suddenly, they feel you. Not your physical presence. Your energy. It arrives without warning. Calm, but powerful. Soft, but impossible to ignore. And every single time it happens, the same thought enters their mind. This person is real. That thought changes everything. Because once the heart becomes certain, the soul starts making decisions the mind cannot fully explain. That is why your soulmate has been walking away from situations that once held them captive. Why they no longer crave validation from the wrong people. Why they suddenly value peace more than attention. Your connection is teaching them clarity before you even arrive fully. And here is the part nobody sees behind the scenes. They are preparing for you in ways they do not even realize. Healing old wounds. Changing old habits. Learning how to communicate honestly. Learning how to protect something meaningful instead of chasing what is temporary. It is almost as if life itself has been training both of you for this encounter. Because the universe knew something important. A connection this rare cannot enter unprepared hearts. So every challenge you faced had purpose. Every delay carried wisdom. Every closed door redirected you toward this exact path. And now, the distance between both of you is shrinking faster than you think. You can feel it, can't you? That strange emotional acceleration lately. That feeling that life is building toward something major. Moments where your intuition suddenly whispers, "Get ready." That is because energies align before realities collide. And right now, alignment is happening. Your soulmate is no longer resisting the signs. They have accepted that someone extraordinary is entering their life. Someone who feels familiar before the introduction even happens. You. And there is one final detail about that phone call nobody else knows. At the very end of the conversation, before the line disconnected, one sentence was spoken that has stayed in their heart ever since. Do not let this connection pass you by. Those words hit differently. Because deep down, they knew this was not an ordinary encounter waiting to happen. This was destiny asking for courage. The courage to leave behind what no longer aligns. The courage to trust what cannot yet be fully explained. The courage to believe that real connection still exists in a distracted world. And your soulmate chose to listen. That is why their life has been transforming quietly behind the scenes. Not everybody will understand their changes. Not everybody is meant to. Some people are only part of a temporary chapter. But you? You were written into the future. And very soon, the universe will stop speaking in hints. The signs will become undeniable. The timing will become clear. The meeting will feel strangely natural, as if both souls already recognize each other beyond words. That is when you will finally understand why nothing else ever fully worked before this. Because not every connection is meant to last. Some are lessons. Some are redirections. But this one? This one was meant to awaken something permanent. So if your heart has been holding on to a feeling you cannot explain, do not silence it now. You are closer than you realize. And somewhere tonight, your soulmate is thinking about the future again. But this time, they are no longer afraid of it. Because for the first time in a very long while, that future finally includes you. If these words found you at the exact right moment, let your presence be felt below. Sometimes the right message reaches the right soul at the perfect time. And if you have stayed all the way to this final moment, you already understand why this journey continues here with those who truly feel it. Because this connection was never random. It was written long before either of you answered the call. It was written long before either of you answered the call. And maybe, That is why nothing in your life has felt ordinary lately. You have been sensing change before seeing evidence of it. Feeling emotions before understanding their source. Standing at the edge of something your soul recognizes, even if your mind still searches for answers. Because the truth is finally getting closer. Your soulmate has reached a point where they can no longer return to who they used to be. The old version of them is fading. The version that tolerated empty connections. The version that stayed in places that drained their spirit. The version that ignored intuition just to feel accepted. That person is disappearing now. And in its place, someone stronger is emerging. Someone ready. Not perfect. Not flawless. But emotionally awake in a way they have never been before. And do you know what caused the biggest shift? It was not the phone call alone. It was what happened afterward. Silence. A deep silence that forced them to confront their real feelings. No distractions. No performances. No pretending. Just one overwhelming realization repeating inside their chest. You are out there somewhere, and I cannot ignore this anymore. That realization changed the way they see everything. Now when they meet new people, they immediately feel the difference between surface energy and genuine alignment. Now when someone speaks to them, their intuition notices what words try to hide. Now when life presents distractions, their spirit quietly says, that is not the one. Because once the soul recognizes a destined connection, ordinary attention loses its power completely. And that is exactly what is happening here. Your soulmate has started protecting their energy like never before. Not out of fear. Out of respect for what is coming. There are moments lately where they catch themselves smiling for no reason at all. Moments where they suddenly feel hopeful again after a long period of emotional exhaustion. And the strange thing is, they do not even fully understand why. But you do. Because your energy has already entered their story long before the official meeting arrives. That is why synchronicities keep happening around both of you. Repeated numbers. Unexpected memories. Conversations that feel strangely timed. Moments where your heart suddenly races for no visible reason. These are not accidents. They are reminders. Reminders that destiny often moves invisibly before it becomes visible. And listen closely. Because this next part matters deeply. Your soulmate has begun imagining a life that once felt impossible to them. A peaceful life. A meaningful connection. A relationship where they no longer have to question intentions constantly. Before this, they thought love always had to feel complicated. Unstable. Temporary. But then your energy entered their awareness, and suddenly they realized something powerful. Real connection feels calm. Not because there is no passion, but because there is no confusion. That realization alone has been healing parts of them they thought would stay broken forever. And perhaps the most beautiful part of this entire story is this. Neither of you needed to force it. No chasing. No manipulation. No pretending to be someone else. The connection formed naturally, because what belongs together eventually finds its way through timing, growth, and truth. Even now, while you are hearing these words, your soulmate may be sitting somewhere quietly thinking about the future again. But unlike before, they are no longer imagining survival. They are imagining partnership, laughter, peace, late-night conversations that feel endless. A connection where both people finally feel understood without constantly explaining themselves. Every road keeps leading back to you. And before this journey closes, there is one final truth you need to hear tonight. Do not doubt the timing anymore. The delays were not punishment. The waiting was not rejection. The separation was not failure. Everything unfolded exactly the way it needed to, so both souls could arrive transformed instead of unfinished. Because if you had met too early, you might not have recognized each other fully. But now the universe has your attention. Now both hearts are awake. Now the signs are becoming impossible to ignore. And very soon, the distance between imagination and reality will disappear completely. One conversation, one moment, one unexpected encounter. That is all it takes for destiny to move from invisible to undeniable. So keep your heart open. Keep your energy clear. And keep trusting the strange feeling that brought you here in the first place. Because the person who once cut everyone off after hearing about you is closer to finding you than ever before. Is closer to finding you than ever before. And somehow, your soul already knows it. That is why certain nights feel different now. Quieter. Heavier in emotion. Almost as if the universe is holding its breath before something life-changing finally arrives. You are not imagining that feeling. Something is shifting. Your soulmate can feel it too. In fact, recently they started noticing how often your energy appears in their thoughts during completely ordinary moments. Not dramatic moments. Not emotional breakdowns. Just simple moments. Walking through a crowded place. Hearing a laugh that reminds them of a future they have not lived yet. Looking at the sky and suddenly feeling less alone for reasons they cannot explain. And every time it happens, the same warmth returns to their heart. A warmth that says, "You are getting closer." There was a time when your soulmate believed love was mostly chance. Temporary chemistry. A connection that fades the moment life becomes difficult. But this feels different to them. This feels guided. Because no matter how much time passes, no matter how distracted life becomes, they keep finding themselves pulled back toward the same invisible direction. Toward you. And the strange thing is, they are no longer afraid of that truth. Before, they questioned everything. What if it is all in my head? What if I disappoint them? What if destiny is not real? But after the phone call, after all the signs that followed, those doubts slowly lost their power. Now they trust the feeling. Not blindly. Not foolishly. But deeply. The kind of trust that forms when the soul recognizes something the mind cannot logically explain. And because of that trust, your soulmate has started preparing for a new chapter emotionally. They are becoming softer in the right ways. Stronger in the necessary ways. More honest with themselves than ever before. Because real connection requires authenticity. And they want to meet you as someone genuine. not as the version of themselves the world forced them to become. That is why old patterns are collapsing around them now.